Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the March 2022 edition of the Madaxeman Podcast as we attempt, give it sort of a go to try and get back on track to doing these more regularly. Hopefully this will be the first of a monthly series, or possibly more than monthly, throughout the rest of this year. This week we talk about why DBA is the greatest set ever. We talk about the Burton doubles. We talk about the Burton nightlife and the Burton beer life as well. There's a huge amount of painting that's been done in the last few weeks, and then there's a lot of things that we're looking forward to doing both in the UK and around Europe as we start playing more events and start painting more stuff in future. So sit back and enjoy the podcast as usual.
This means war.
Astonishingly, I was going to say we're back, but we're nearly back. We've got 6 out of 7. And I think the last time we did this, we were recording it in the field with a host of special guest stars all the way from Spain. But this is all the way from Zoom screen heaven as we sit here across various bits of London, from the glamorous Canary Wharf and Peter to northeast.
And no more Russian oligarchs.
No, there's no Russian oligarch yachts behind you, Peter. You're not sequestered.
This is one from
like
earlier.
There is one.
They've all gone now.
They've all buggered off. They've all sailed away to Mauritius or something where there's no extradition treaty. But we're not entirely sure what's prompted us to do this, other than the fact that we haven't done it. No, it's the tube strike, isn't it? This is, thanks to the RMT union, there is another Madaxeman podcast this week because none of us could get into the club, and it's a Thursday. So we all found ourselves at a loose end with some time already bought or invested in or booked in to do some wargaming stuff. So I guess without further ado, even though it's been quite some time, a truncated start to what have you been up to since we last were on the ether? And Simon, Mr. Leroy Mayer, in your painting kitchen, what's been going on in Simon painting world?
So I've been busy working on finishing my New Kingdom Egyptians. So I got attacked by one of the museum miniature sales. They're quite tragic, the January sale. So I bought enough chariots.
Did you just buy Egyptians, or was there something else?
Yeah, there may be some others. I'll get to them shortly.
Okay, all right, good.
I bought a bunch of the Egyptians because I realised with the new rules, you've got the various options for armoured chariots or elite chariots, and I didn't have enough to really give different trip types. So I had to buy more miniatures.
Yes, that's a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so I bought a bunch of
Is
those.
it tea towel? Because you're in the kitchen. Are you using designs from tea towels that you've got in your kitchen to do the headdresses?
I am a little bit, but I find to get into the whole feeling of painting, I also wear a loincloth and a scythe sickle for carving up the dinner in the evening. Yeah. So that seems to work.
No, that's good. No, definitely. Anything? Is it a plague of locusts upon your houses as well? Do you bring those in?
No, but having seen the floods in Australia, we've got the plague, pestilence, and flooding and all that. So we've just outsourced it down there. So
it's all gone bad.
It's all been good fun. So it's been working on getting all the Egyptians painted up with options for lots of bow, swordsmen, lots of pretty chariots, and all that. And like Dave mentioned last year, we got one of the Reaper models of Anubis for a baggage. So having the god of death for your baggage is always a positive thing in my book.
Okay, well, that sounds like there's a bit of biblical malarkey going on round there, as I'm sure we'll come to then. And because it's been ages, hasn't it been your main project? Because you've been doing a lot of ADLGR stuff as well, haven't you, in the meantime? That's kind of come out for real, possibly since we last spoke.
Yeah, so we published the rules, or released them to the web just before Christmas last year. So it was a nice Christmas present for Wargamers. So we've had quite a few games in actual real life, which has been quite good.
Yeah, it's proved pretty popular down the club, isn't it? There's about half a dozen people playing now.
Yeah, people are getting it, and the games chuff along quite well. Things happen, violence happens, especially because so many things can shoot. Results happen quite well. And we had a game last week. Andy put together this scenario of the Battle of Norderling. So you had the Protestants on one side, the Spanish Catholics on the other side, Swedes versus Germans and Spanish. And we had 400 points a side. There's 3 players on each side, of which 4 of them had never played the game before.
Okay.
And After 2.5 hours, we got a result, very convincing result, and some beer was drunk, and things happened. So that was quite good. Seeing big Spanish terciaries running around, the Swedish salvo came storming over the hill, gave people a damn good kicking, and the cavalry wings got stuck into each other, and my wing, because I was playing the Spanish side, the Spaniard wings got broken, and all of a sudden you had the Protestants pouring through to the flanks and all that, and it didn't go well after that. It was
okay.
But it was nice.
It did kind of help that Richard Case was commanding the Swedes, and he's a bit formidable in charge of anything.
Yeah, if you need someone who can roll a 5 or a 6 on a regular basis, he is the Case. So
that is good.
When the Swedes went in, it went well. So it's been quite enjoyable. It's good to see big games, tertiaries running around the table, and people from overseas have been playing with it, and people seem to be getting into it. So
in fact, we still do need to catch up. Me and you don't need to put a copy of it on Madaxeman so that people can download it from there. Because at the moment it's through the ADLG Facebook group, I think, and then
it's
primarily as well.
Yeah, so I've got it visible on the Facebook, on Facebook, but also the ADLG forums under other periods.
So I've got to ask Simon, right? And like certain other rule formats, as the writer of the rules, have you actually won every tournament that's actually entered because you keep doing broken lists?
Oh, well, I don't have 20 Turkish lists in the rules. I have because the thought of maintaining 20 variants of the same army list just seems like an idea of madness. But no, I can lose as well as I could in any other rule set. So
it's nice to see that consistency.
I can still make my usual screw ups, and all of a sudden Andy's got some cover in my flank, and it's like, that's going to hurt, isn't it? So, but yeah, we've had a couple of little mistakes here and there, but basically the rules seem to be chipping along quite well, and
good.
Hopefully, over time we can get Hervé to make them, almost sanction them and say, fair enough, have them as a PDF.
Sanctify. You were doing the
Is it true
there,
you've got almost enough pikemen now to do an army 1-for-1?
Yeah,
Very small army, yes.
Let's not talk about that, shall we?
That's it. Well, look, if we're talking about enormous amounts of painting and basing, then that means we do have to go to the Che Guevara mug drinking Tamsin and steel ourselves, sit down, find a comfy chair, and see if there's an abridged version of what the last few months has been in terms of Tamsin painting world. And I'm trying to think. It was
December. It was December when we last recorded, and I was in the middle of doing preparing loads of stuff for the Analog Hobbies Painting Challenge.
The dogs look nice.
So this is a painting challenge. Is that a funny angle, or is that a two-headed dog?
No, it's 2 dogs.
It is 2 dogs. Okay,
There's
then.
2 dogs there, so 3 in total. It's just that one of them isn't on the acrylic basis.
Right. Okay. So these are on acrylic basis. So are these dogs for Judge Dredd then, or is this an entirely different?
No,
you found a game based on Battersea?
No,
something?
these are going to be part of a gift for a friend. The guy Kurtz, who runs the Analog Hobbies Painting Challenge.
Okay.
Because he's got 2 dogs, Oscar and Felix, and last year he painted up models of Felix.
Okay.
And I thought it's a shame that Oscar's been left out. So
yeah. So this is Oscar in a range of different poses. Then this is active Oscar and
Oscar in a range of different poses because I had three suitable dogs.
3 different dogs. Okay, then good.
Dog figures.
Right. So I can't imagine there's just 3 dogs. But no, there isn't.
It's not just 3 dogs.
Those look like Japanese tanks. So those must be Japanese people.
Started up. I said I was going to be painting up Japanese and started off. In this phase, you can see senior leaders, 2 tanks, either Type 97s,
97 something.
Is it Type 97 or 95 hard goes?
Right. Well, it's all the same, isn't it? Really, they're those little Japanese ones that are only good.
A rifle section and jump off points. So I did jump off points because I had an excess of officer figures.
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah, those are lovely little more of the
dioramas. Yeah. I thought,
No, there's
why not?
if I was a
not do that?
goldfish, I'd be really keen about swimming around some of that stuff. I think.
Yeah.
That foliage, it would look very familiar.
Yeah. So senior leaders, so 2 officers, 1 sergeant.
Mm.
Team.
They look suitably.
And
Banzai.
First rifle squad for the platoon.
Mm.
2 tanks.
Cute little tanks. Yeah.
They're cute.
Yeah.
Then sort of moved on. I some ancient Germans. I took to bulk up my force so I can use it for. So I've got enough for art de la guerre. Thanks.
Because you'd already painted quite a lot of these for infamy, haven't you? So you doubled up those. Are they the museum figures or am I
Lancashire?
Lancashire. Okay then. Yeah. No, that's straightforward.
So some javelin, light foot javelins.
Yeah.
Heavy foot.
Densely packed, definitely.
Yeah. Medium foot.
There's a lot of proper Germanic blonde hair is there as well.
Each for base did 7. Well, I think I did 7 figures on mediums, 8 on heavies.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, that looks pretty dense,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
And then it was the second rifle squad for Japanese platoon.
Oh, those little red epaulets with a couple of yellow dots on them look really effective, actually.
Yeah, the ranked
really simple. Yeah, that's really
badges,
neat. Yeah, that's really cute.
So the 70mm infantry gun, forward observer team.
Yep.
And then so you see those bases back. The green posts added
added some flowerage. So have you got a massive group of knee mortar guys? Because that's what.
They'll be coming up.
That's not Scottish knee mortars, but that was the thing I had a lot of trouble with against Jeff playing Chain of Command. They just seemed to be very, very effective until I managed to buy some flamethrower men, which were even more effective. So this is something completely different then.
Something completely different now.
Mongols and
some Mongol medium cavalry and some Georgian or Armenian lance heavy cavalry.
Okay.
Heavy cavalry.
Some interesting armies, yeah.
Yeah, just to bulk round out my Mongol army with those options.
And what figures are these?
I think they're all Donington.
Okay. Right. Okay.
The Georgian Armenian are a mix of various
all sorts, which is probably right for them.
Occidental knights. So
yes. Okay.
I think there's a couple of Byzantine knights in there and such like.
And then there's got to be some terrain because you always do some terrain.
Oh yes.
There it is. Was crashed spaceship or something?
Crashed spaceship terrain from Blotz, which did a load of work on. So.
Yep. Whoa. That's some nice airbrushing on that, isn't it? That's very, very. And this is for what sort of game is that?
Well,
not
for
yet.
Any sci-fi skirmish game.
Okay. Really. So it's ready to go.
So thought, it'd be useful to have those.
Yeah.
For some games.
You always need a crash spaceship. Everybody needs a crash spaceship. Yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then the third rifle section for the Japanese.
Yeah.
An excess of snipers.
You always do, yeah. That's that's that Finnish thing that's doing the rounds on social media.
Well, the excess of snipers came about because Warlord sent me the wrong pack. So I got flamethrower team and snipers, which I hadn't ordered. Right, instead for the observer team, so they told me, we'll send out the forward observer team. Keep hold of.
Okay.
Keep the wrong pack. I already had a couple of snipers.
Yeah, you can never have too many Japanese snipers, can you? You can never see too many anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. And medium machine gun.
Yep. What make of figures are these?
They're a mix. I've got Eureka, Assault Group, and Warlord.
Okay, yeah, because some of the faces look quite definite, don't they? Well defined.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and sort of some more terrain.
European houses.
European houses.
Disrepair. Yep.
Yeah, I just did as a corner base to go sort of back corner of the table.
Of a table, yeah. With proper rubble inside.
A basic Sarissa Precision house, which I
added some bits to.
Added lots of stuff to.
Yeah. Yeah, adding bits inside it makes quite a difference, doesn't it? Otherwise they can look a bit empty, can't they?
Yeah, I mean there's a lot more photos of it on
the blog.
On the painting challenge blog.
Okay, right.
That looks like my room in Burton.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, some crates and some British Airborne.
Is this an entirely new project then, or is this rounding up something?
No, it's just some sort of big net bits to go with. Because I British Airborne quite a long time.
Okay.
A couple of years ago. So I decided,
round them out. Tanks riders or Jeep riders or something.
Jeep riders.
Yeah.
Well, vehicle riders. So
they do look like a bunch of hard dudes, don't they? No.
Then the rest of the Japanese.
Of course, there's always more.
Yeah. So you wanted knee mortars?
Oh, the bloody knee mortars! God. Yeah. Yeah, one of those wonderful things in Chain of Command that's like
14 figures because
right.
In the early war, get 3 4-man teams. Late war, you get 4 2-man teams.
Yeah, when I was fighting, there seemed to be just like one team of about 30. Just sort of shoot all at the same time and just blast you.
If they shoot all at the same time, because in Chain of Command, they don't.
Yeah, they're Japanese, aren't they? They all go in a big mob.
It's each squad is effectively a single team.
Yeah, and they could shoot them out of sight, couldn't they?
Which means that entrenchments are really cheap for them because Because
I know
exactly about that. Cover a whole squad, whereas
everyone else is buying more.
Everyone else. Well, same for Russians actually. They get makes their single team.
Yeah, fight up the beach and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So that's an additional rifle squad
to make it 4
anti-tank rifle.
Right. Okay. Anti-tank guns, banzai guys.
47mm anti-tank gun. Dug-in tank.
Right. Okay. Well, you might as well if it's one of those.
That tank, either
that's the
Chiha tank, medium tank. For Warlord kits, you've got 2 options. You can do, as I've done, I made it up as the standard one with the lower velocity 57mm gun. But you also get the bits to make it up as the variant, either Chiha Kai or Shinhoto variant, which has the 47mm.
The all-conquering 47mm gun, I imagine, in period.
It was more effective against. Well, it stood a little bit more of a chance against Germans, Grants, and Matildas, but not that much.
Not that much. No, not really. Yeah.
So you used spare top deck and turret bits to make up a dug-in tank.
Yeah.
Thanks. Why not?
No, why not? Yeah, absolutely use it. Yeah.
And another machine gun.
More machine guns. So there's more Japanese than you can wave a flamethrower at, really.
Two flamethrowers.
Okay.
Guys.
They get some as well. Yeah.
I had a couple of spare LMG guys left. A couple of spare officers.
Yep.
So I painted
with
them
swords as well. Yeah. And you painted some late Romans as well, by the looks of it.
And realised. Various anti-tank suicide teams.
Well, of course, there has to be something suicidal. Carrying mines,
explosives, whatever.
Just throw themselves in Mills bombs or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and finished off with some early Imperial Romans.
Okay, and that's more Lancashire figures by the looks of it.
More Lancashire figures just to round out that army.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
how's that stood you in the painting challenge then, in terms of volume? How's that been doing?
In terms of points, I'm on about 1,350 points, and in 11th.
Is that a good number?
10th place out of 97 that actually started.
Yeah.
Because four people failed to get an entry in the first month, so they were cut off.
Oh, I thought you were going to say 4 people had just expired through sheer effort and just collapsed and impaled themselves or drowned themselves in a pot of brush washing water or something like that. But no, it's 4 people who didn't start, so that's a relief.
Yeah,
really, that could have been a bit more grim.
Just over 2.5 weeks left to go.
Okay, so we better. You're going to be painting in the background then during this. You just got to be buzzing all the time. Yeah. No, it doesn't quite work like that.
I think mostly working on character figures and vehicles for the next few days.
Just get some interesting stuff out.
So, because once I get them cleared, so I can work on that big pile of terrain you see behind you.
Okay, yeah. No, that's that's like you're rebuilding your own house.
All being primed. A lot of the heavy lifting on that will be done with the airbrush. But
yeah.
This means war.
Well, let's go from your pile of terrain to the pile of pots and pans behind Mr. Finkel on the top shelf of your kitchen from this almost up the nose angle that we got from your webcam on what I guess is a laptop this week. So, yeah. But no, it's good. Your facial hair is hiding the nostrils, or it's all blurring into one with the nasal hair. So that's all.
It's all well planned. Yeah,
all well planned indeed. Yeah.
Right. Well, what I'm painting at the moment is an Egyptian chariot in 25mm, which I picked up at Burton, because we have just the one, and I've got some civilian biblical types as well, because we have our festival of Passover coming up in a few weeks' time, and we decorate our table for the special meal with things related to the Passover. So I thought I'd have a sort of model group scene of the children of Israel being chased by the chariot. And
I thought it was going to be like a model scene of a tournament that you weren't able to go to due to a Jewish religious festival or something like that.
No, well, I mean, there's plenty of them, but
exactly.
I need more than one. No. But I'm also thinking of expanding it out into a game of Escape from Egypt, where people roll the dice and move the characters, and the chariot will chase them.
That's going to be based on Escape from Colditz, but you're going to do it with like a pyramid instead of the castle.
Kind of that, yeah. You got Dr. Crocodiles and the hippos and stuff like that, So it's just it's just an idea. I may not be allowed to implement this, but
should we all take a vote on whether we think that your missus will allow you to do wargaming during this team? No, there's a lot of down thumbs coming in here. We think you won't get away with this, and it could be another flushed down the Usk at Passover, possibly the wee baby Moses found in the bushes down the Usk or something like that.
Flush down the Nile, I think. Yeah,
flush down the Nile. That could be it. That definitely could be it. All right.
Yeah.
So Heston.
Pardon?
Is there a 15mm Charlton Heston?
There could well be. I haven't found one. This is all in 25mm. This stuff. And apart from that, I've been painting various bits. I did a bunch of German Schnellboats for Cruel Seas, which I've had sitting around for a while, and I've got the British MTBs to do. And I've done a few little bits for the armies I picked up from Clive's estate, mainly command groups for the Persians and the Renaissance Poles, and a couple of units for the King of the Battlefield Prussian army. And that's basically it. I bought a few bits in the museum sale, unit of Indian warriors. I bought some hoplites and I haven't yet.
You're gradually creeping towards a full hoplite army, aren't you, on the sly? Because you just keep getting a few extra shield transfers, and then suddenly you'll have like all 20 bases of them.
Bugger me! I've got enough for a hoplite army. Who'd have thought?
As if by magic, yeah.
It's one way of how I acquire armies. You sort of inadvertently find that you've got a few other bits, and of course, Clive's Achaemenid Persian army, which I used first time on Monday night, that's got a few crafty hoplites hidden in there as well. So,
okay.
So, Andy, your way of building miniature armies is basically scope creep. It started with one Roman, and he ended up with 4 ancient armies. Is this what you do, Andy?
Yeah.
It's kind of how I ended up with a Thracian army before Christmas. In that, some years ago, I had some stuff nicked out of my car, including a Macedonian army, and so every time I go to a show, I think, I need a few Thracian Rompoya guys, and you end up buying a few of them. Then time goes by and you forget you bought them, and you buy a few more, and then the Kickstarter comes out for War and Empire, and you think, all right, I'll have a pack or two of Thracians because you always need them in an army. And then you sit down and look at it, you say, oh, there's enough guys here for a Thracian army.
Yeah, as if by magic. Then the shopkeeper appears. Okay. So has that been your main thing, a few bits and pieces from museum and that sort of stuff since in the first couple of months of this year? Essentially, that's it. Yeah.
Okay. I've managed to get out and actually do a bit of playing games, but the odd bit of painting, nothing which amounts to a project really.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go down. Dave, what about you in your painting bunker with the light and the darkness and all sorts of things, and you're going to wave something at the screen like you always do. It's possibly going to be a bottle of Hefeweizensteiner or something. Yeah, that's really dark. We've no idea what those things are.
Looks like guys on horses, but I can't tell what they are.
Are they horses, camels? They've got a white stripe. Are they Renaissance? Some things.
the sort of 9 Years' War or Battle of the Boyne era,
Okay.
whatever that is. What sort of, I don't know, War of Spanish Succession is that?
Yeah. Simon, you're the expert on names of things like that, aren't you? Can you remember what those is that era called something?
It's getting,
Jacobite, Williamite type thing, isn't it? Glorious Revolution.
Glorious Revolution. Should we call it that? That would be fine.
Well, so yeah, I'm helping someone paint their army for that. So I've done Fogar regiments or Meg regiments even.
Wow. Okay.
2, 4, 8.
Oh, yeah, you were doing that before when we were last recording.
Yeah, I painted a Fogar army, but whoever I'm painting for has asked me to turn it to a Meg army, which means doubling the size of a Fogar army.
Yeah, just do even more stuff.
Pointless to me, but there you go.
Yep.
So no, there's a lot of variety. He wants armoured cavalry, a lot of dragoons, French dragoons.
Wow. Louis 14th or something. So have you done anything of your own, or has it all been someone else's?
Yeah, I've painted up an entire African army.
Oh yeah, you were buying those, I think, last time we talked about it, weren't you? How's that been?
It could be the Kingdom of Axum, or the Blemmyes, or the Beja, or the Nobate.
Are they the ones who played on Monday night, the Nobate?
Yeah. So I've painted that up. So that's a completely irregular, crazy army of like medium infantry, crap bow, camel, camel.
Impetuous camels.
Impetuous camels, or normal camels, or whatever, and sort of really rubbish cavalry. And it's rubbish. It's an army. and I've discovered that since I've painted it, thinking I'm doing something different, everybody else has painted it and is using it.
Yeah, there did seem to be a few up at Burton, which we'll come on to, I guess, in a bit later on in the podcast. So you've been painting like beigey brownie sort of people in loincloths and camels, and it's all been a bit beige, has it? Or
it's cheap figures. Well, Donington old figures. Does an African range, which I actually saw the figures. One of the Scots guys had painted it. Hunter had painted it. Some of them.
Yeah.
They're quite cute old figures, so I bought quite a lot of those, and they were quite fun in a sort of non-Zeist or non-modern figure.
In battle. Yeah.
Okay. I really enjoyed painting it, and it's a fun army. It's very different. Doesn't mean I'm taking it to Pamplona, which is one of the plans. I've bottled out on that.
You bottled out. Okay.
Well, I've got a new toy as well. I've got there's a guy at the shows. Is it called A to B Brushes or
ABC Brushes? Yeah. Peter at ABC Brushes.
He's a nice guy. And he sells very nice brushes. Yeah. And I've got a model painter medium dry brush from him.
What he sells slightly knackered second-hand old brushes then? No,
it's actually
designed for this.
It's actually quite a large point, and it's quite soft, so it's actually quite good for dry brushing.
Well, I suppose you'd hope so with that name. It would be.
I thoroughly recommend it.
That's weird, isn't it? Because dry brushing is like where old brushes go to die, isn't it? Or cheap brushes go to die.
I've got these Humbrol stipple brushes, which are quite stiff and sort of, I don't know, horsehairy sort of thing.
Yeah.
I've been using them for my dry brushing, but I find they sort of like take the other paint off and that.
Because I don't want to, steal Tamsin's thunder there, but I think
dry brushing you want soft. You want soft bristles for dry brushing.
Yeah, without wanting to steal Tamsin's thunder, I'd suggest that possibly a stipple brush might be better for stippling.
Yes.
I'm just putting it out there for you, but
that's probably very, very true. So
that could be it.
Because I'm quite into dry brushing. And,
okay.
Try makeup brushes.
Yeah, I've discovered these brushes are really good.
Yeah, I don't think
try makeup brushes.
Yeah, I don't think Dave should say them because he needs them for his mascara every morning.
Yeah, well, possibly your flatmate could lose some, Dave, while she's out.
Considering this is probably, I think, my 8th online meeting today.
Oh, okay.
Getting a bit weird, I tell you.
Yes, you're losing the will to Zoom. All right. Yeah. Okay. Well, look, let's leave you to it then for a bit and zoom across to the Oligarch's Yacht pen and Peter in Docklands. What's been going on with you? We've not seen you at a club or a competition.
It's just been very busy, work and other bits and pieces. So it's one of those periods. We've got fair things going on. So I haven't been able to do very much. I have invested into a samurai army following the...
other than that, yeah.
Yeah, but other than that, following warfare, went for new shinies, following the list that got off Simon and a couple of others. So I've pulled together some stuff and started cleaning them up, but I just haven't had time to spray them gold, because a couple of times when I got close to it, it was then absolutely awful outside.
Yeah, the weather's not been spray friendly, has it, at all, for a long time?
No, and I've got a can of red and a can of gold for spraying. So
and you just
it's all there, beckoning it. But I've just started cleaning them up and everything else. Just been, hopefully things will be calming down.
What figures are they?
Now you got me. Samurai.
Samurai. Okay, they're kind of samurai.
Oh, glory, Eureka.
Old Glory, Eureka, Essex, Peter Pig, Eureka. Okay, gone full specialist then. Right, gone all in on them. Okay, so it's been quiet in Peter World. Right. Well, I guess over here it's been a bit patchy as well. I've been doing quite a lot of stuff, getting prepped for BritCon. Actually, I even went up to a trade show up to VAPA in York in beginning of February to try and talk to some vendors and stuff like that, which is where I spoke to Peter from ABC Brushes, who they are going to be coming to BritCon in the trade show, which is good. I bought some. I think I bought some discount brushes from them at the Plastic Modeler show in Bristol Way end of last year. But so yeah, he's coming to BritCon, and we're up to about 20 odd traders now, and I'm planning on going up to Hammerhead on the train up to Newark, which would be a bit weird on Sunday, mainly as I'm
Saturday.
Oh, Saturday, sorry, yes, Saturday, that's important. No, I am going on Saturday because I'm going out to a gig on Friday night, so I didn't really want to drive on Saturday. I thought it was safer to just book in and go up the train and do that to do Hammerhead. But it was really weird to go to a show again and sort of see vendors and people like that out and about. But I think people are starting to get back to normal. It really does feel like it's back to normal. I think painting wise, recently I've been rebasing. It was sort of the Clive army that wouldn't sell. There was sort of a generic biblical thing with, it must have been a DBMM army at some point, because Ugarit or something, it had loads. It must have had about 40 bases of chariots. But when I say that, it actually had 40 bases of 2 horses and about 10 chariot bodies and about 6 wheels between them. It was like the Eddie Izzard sketch when about being raised by wolves and how the pack of wolves all no, I won't go into it, but they had 5 legs between them. No, they had 4 legs each. It's a complicated thing. But so I've had to get some chariot bodies from Essex and chariot crew to rebase and redo all these things, and they're almost done now. I managed to get out and do some spraying today, because it was kind of the first day which hasn't either been too cold or too wet to actually do it, spray them white, and I'm doing some sort of very simple contrasty paint stuff on them. And finally, after I think nearly a year and a bit, I've started to paint the first Black Seas, little ship, which is a brig, I think, which I don't know why these things have freaked me out for so long, because they're really easy. It's like they're so bloody tiny, you don't actually have to paint them that well, I think, if that makes sense.
So you're not doing the little string bits and things?
I might have to. I'm going to do the string bits, but I've been told the secret is to paint them first, then matte varnish them, spray them before you start putting the rigging on. Otherwise, the glue that you fasten the rigging on with makes the paint come off. So you've got to kind of varnish them before you put the rigging on. But certainly these little tiny ones, just because I've done it with contrast paints, and I've done Skeleton Horde, I think, for the woodwork, and then Nasdreg Yellow, which is one, and then whatever the fuck Gore Grunter Fur is. I don't really know what colour that is. Some sort of, I don't know, thing about Sasquatch wiping its own arse or something. But this little ship seems quite simple, and I think a little bit of dry brushing silver on the guns, and it will look okay. They're really tiny. I'm not quite sure what my 40 quid's paid for if I've got some of these things. Maybe the other ones are a little bit bigger because I started with one of the small ones. But so I've got that done, and I've had quite a few little bits and bobs of odd units. I've done a few Indian foot and things like that. I've actually just started again finishing off some 10mm Napoleonic cavalry that I've got about 30 of them kicking around, and it's just really been trying to clear out the odds and sods from the desk. And I think we've all fitted. The last podcast was from Spain, and then there's been another competition down in Bournemouth since then that we've squeezed in as well. But I guess more recently than that, this very last weekend, I think I was going to say half of us, no, 2/3 of us are actually back from Burton. So I think maybe it's time to take a quick musical interlude and then come back, and the non-attendees can kind of quiz us about what life was like back at the mega event that was the Burton Doubles. So look, we're back from that musical interlude, and it's Burton, which created a bit of a buzz on our little WhatsApp group, as a couple of people weren't there and some of us were. And it's the first time, actually, no, it wasn't that big a break, was it? Because Burton just squeezed in at the beginning of 2020 before everything locked down. It was kind of February 2020 when we all knew it was going to go to rat shit, but we were still pretending it wouldn't.
Yeah, all in denial.
We were all in denial, and the government wasn't going to stop us, so we all kind of went up to Burton. But it does feel like a long time ago. But oh my God, there was a lot of people. There were 50 people playing ADLG. I think this time there were
50.
I think
that was one
50.
packed hall then.
That was one packed hall, and there was 20 people playing Fog Renaissance. There's about 20 playing DBMM, and then there was some Fog AM and Meg in other rooms and things like that. So there's a lot of people there, and I think even with ADLG there was still 6 or 8 people who were new, and there was probably about 10 people who'd not played since lockdown as well. So it was just seeing all sorts of different people come out of the woodwork who'd, Burton is Burton. It's been, is it 20 years, 25 years that they've been doing it? Or was it even 30 that they were doing it? And but we all so Dave, you went up as a team with Richard. I went up as a team with Adam, and Simon and Andy, you were a team together, weren't you? So
yeah, we were.
So maybe well, talk to us about your going to Burton, your whole Burton experience.
Well, my missus wanted to come, so because she doesn't like being alone at the weekend, so we went by train. Got there on Friday night, found a very nice Italian restaurant, and then afterwards I met up with you guys for a drink.
Did the Italian restaurant serve, like Bass and stuff like that, or did it just go Peroni and red wine?
No, it was proper Burton. You could have had all sorts of stuff.
Okay, proper real ales in your Italian restaurant, because it was in the shadow of the brewery, wasn't it?
Well, yes. I mean, it'd be rude not to, wouldn't it?
It would be rude not to. Yeah.
Everywhere's in the shadow of a brewery in Burton.
Yeah, even if it's one that's not open, isn't it? Yeah.
You're kind of walking through a brewery wherever you are.
Yeah, there's that whiff in the air, isn't there, about it? Definitely.
Yeah, the smell of beer. It was quite good.
Yeah. And Simon,
you can imbibe the beer without drinking it. It's quite good.
That's true. So Simon, I imagine you didn't go for dinner with Andy and his wife at all. Oh.
No, so Dave and I caught the train up to meet with Richard, and then we drove up together, and then met up with all you lot for a few pints, just for research purposes. So we spent a couple of hours, thoroughly enjoyable hours, arguing about different army list design options, who's going to win, who's going to lose, why foot are the best compared to mountain and all that. So that was a good way of avoiding every other scary topic in the world. So we managed to get into Burton at a civilized time compared to our usual 10:30, and then met up with a bunch of reprobates and found a pub called the
Heretic, wasn't it?
The Heretic, yeah, wasn't it? Yeah. That was our own pub. It was quite amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah, literally, we rocked up and the two other people who were there buggered off. So between all of us, we took over the bar and stayed there till...
that tiny one in the car park of the hotel?
No, that's the
like 6 people.
And there's near the main road that we usually walk down.
It's opposite where Spirit Games used to be.
Yeah. So there's a random, quite a small little pub, only about 2-3 meters wide.
It was a shop, really, wasn't it? It could have been a barber's shop in a previous life. It was that small. But it just had one bloke and a bar, didn't it? And some casks. Gravity fed.
The shops have been turned into bars, micro bars, and served like 5 pints as a variety thing. It's great. It's really good.
I guess there must be a lot of people in Burton who, with the breweries getting automated or downsizing or whatever, there's a lot of people with brewing experience who found themselves out of work, and they all seem to be opening microbrews and micro pubs.
Yeah, because there was quite a few of the beers that we'd not seen before, so we had to do the research and work our way around all the different beers and all that. And I think we all collectively agreed they were all quite drinkable.
Yeah, they did seem to be, didn't they? It was quite good, though.
So we were disturbed by, I think Dave had it, the mango ale, was it?
It was like a Lilt IPA.
Wasn't it pineapple or something, Dave?
It was Tiny Rebel, who were from Wales.
Did you get an umbrella with that?
It really was like that. It tasted of Lilt.
It looked like it, yeah.
Yeah, Lilt lager.
It was very quaffable.
Yeah.
I wouldn't drink it all night, although I tried.
Or again, possibly.
You did, though, didn't you?
I was pretty rough on Saturday.
Yeah.
So you tasted it again on Saturday, did you?
Yes.
On Saturday, I was so ill that I didn't feel really much like drinking then all day.
Until lunchtime.
Benefit. Yeah, until lunchtime.
So the pineapple went to your head, basically.
Yeah, I was in a bit of a rough state on Saturday. I really was.
Me and Adam, we because Adam came up on Thursday night from up from Bournemouth, and so on Friday we went round the RAF Museum in Hendon. It's on the way. Okay, it's still very close to us and not far to Burton, but it got us to kind of North London in order to head off. And it's a couple of years since I've been, but it is still really good. And I think walking around it with another wargamer is just excellent. And Howard came up as well and met us there. We picked him up in Colindale and had a scoot round. The World War I hall has got some completely bonkers stuff in it. There's a collection of darts that they used to chuck out of aeroplanes at ground targets, and they're just metal darts. But because I guess they were all sort of posh people with big mustaches, they had them in like a case, like you would have, I don't know, expensive cigars or something, a leather bound case, like the darts. And you'd unzip them, sir, and just throw them at people. I think the caption said they were really only effective if they actually hit something, but you'd have to be pretty bloody accurate. And then there was an anti-airship bomb that basically looked like possibly one of the fruits that went into Dave's drink, but covered in metal spikes. And it said that no one knows how it worked because they've not dared open it, I think, or take it to pieces. But it looked real Heath Robinson. So there's some really complete, and then a stuffed pigeon that was in a little case, and I think it was like a messenger pigeon that had got back from somewhere and expired, and it was because it was such a fine fellow, they'd stuffed it for posterity, which I'm sure it was delighted about, and put it in a glass case, and it's part of the RAF back in the First World War. So yeah, a pretty good way to do it. But then we ended up in Burton, and not wanting to have 2 curries in a weekend and going for a curry on Saturday, we went we walked around the houses in Burton and ended up in a Chinese restaurant that we thought was going to be sort of normal from the outside. And then we walked in and it was just this vast cavernous space with slightly mental decoration. And it was like an all-you-can-eat buffet. So the food quality was all-you-can-eat buffet standard. But you know, I've not been for a Chinese where one of the dessert options is candy floss before. That's interesting. And you know, they did have some dim sum which was made properly, and you know, chips and chicken nuggets were good as a side option as well in between your duck course. So we had a very weird lengthy Chinese that was a slightly surreal experience, and I think it all shut at about 9:30 because clearly everybody went no pubs, and then joined you guys in micro brew world, and then another one, and then on to the games the next day. Now, certainly for us, the first day was great. We managed to win 2. I think first game we fought, we were using a Khurasanian, which is a poor man's Ghaznavid, and first game we fought a sort of Beja type army, camels, impetuous foot, that didn't really have enough command and control to deal with our army moving around in front of it and trying to get out of its way. So we kind of mugged that one. And then second game we fought Kevin and Steve, who had a Viking army it was an Irish army with a Viking ally. And again, that just stretched across the table with some very scary two-handed chopper armored foot. And but they were still quite new at using it, and there was a weak part in the army. It was just some very vanilla Viking swordsmen without any sort of special things, and we just threw everything at that and managed to squeeze through the gaps.
To these ones that stretch all the way across the table, we've seen them a couple of times in competitions. They just, you know, in reality, you know, at best they're going to get, say, a third of the army in, so you can just focus on there, and they're never going to actually get into it.
Yeah, but I think if it's all decent quality, you know, it's all still pretty good. I think the issue is it doesn't stretch all the way across the table. You've got to get the terrain, and otherwise there's gaps. And so we managed to even find a couple of gaps through the middle of the army and stick some cavalry and some light horse through, and go baggage raiding and things like that.
This means war.
Simon, Andy, what about you? What was your first day like?
Well, the first game we played was against Pete
what
and Andy
were you
Gilbert.
using?
Tang army, yeah, with
Okay.
Tibetan ally, and we were up against Koreans, and they had a very large bunch of heavy sword crossbow guys in the middle, and a load of impetuous impact cavalry covering the flank. And I thought this was going to be absolutely grisly, but we managed to smash through the middle. And we had a quite amusing incident reminiscent of Clive along the way, in that there was an infantry melee going on, and we were getting the better of it. And my opponent, Pete, put his cataphract with his included commander behind them, and just in line without realizing it. And so when his infantry broke and routed, it caused a hit on the cataphracts. That entitled us to do a roll for general loss, at which point Simon calls out, "All hail Clive," and then I rolled a 1.
Excellent. All right, you invoked the 1. That's good.
We prayed to Clive. Clive was good to us on that day.
Yeah,
Yep.
well, he changed his mind the next day. Second game was against Julian and Chris Tofalos, and my combat dice were very benign against Julian, and you could see steam coming out of his ears by the end of it.
Okay. So
He calmed down the next day, but I think he was a bit miffed that we beat him.
We do feel very proud of ourselves in that we were the only team to beat him all weekend. So it's a small credit on our part, because the next day didn't go well. We got rolled.
Right. Dave, what about your first day? What was that? What happened? What was your first day?
What, me?
Yeah, you and
I was
Richard.
just pretty hungover, so when the unreliable general was unreliable, I was quite grateful.
So you were commanding troops who weren't moving then?
I was commanding the side of the army which was just trying to hang on.
Right. Okay.
With a hangover. No.
Yep.
We won all our games on Saturday.
Mm. But obviously you weren't participating that much.
There was a lot of very, very sensible preparation, which my doubles partner Richard Richard Case is very, very good at the preparation. Yep. So I was just sitting there going, no, Richard, I'll go with any army you choose. I'll be very happy to you choose, really, please choose.
Yeah. And you had a lot of cataphracts and stuff, didn't you, with your...
Yeah, we had a lot of cataphracts. When we sat there and we thought, well, the only thing we'd be really worried about is elephant armies. And then I saw before we went to Burton that Simon and Andy had a game against Dave Allen and Gordon, and they'd used Tamil Indians. So I immediately returned to my partner saying, they've got elephants. Right, well, it's too late now. We're going with the cataphracts, which is a bad match. And then our first two games were against big elephant armies. And we promptly smashed them to pieces.
Wow. Okay. So by the end of the first day, all three of us were on maximum points. We're at 2 wins.
Yeah. So did you dismount against the elephant armies, or?
We dismounted a couple of cataphracts, but no. The main cataphract Tamil army, which was Graham Carroll and Bob Middlemiss, they were a bit unlucky. They charged and rolled long, which pushed them through the gaps and allowed us to hit them in the flanks and just roll them up. So we were pretty lucky on that one.
Okay.
We got into their squidgy bits, their impetuous infantry and their cavalry with cataphracts, and we didn't really have. By the time we were hitting the elephants, we were hitting them in flanks and things like that. And then the elephants were falling over on top of their friends rather than on us as well.
Oh, tricky. And actually, sorry, the important thing about Saturday was going to the Coopers, wasn't it? And having pork pie and beer.
Yes, of course.
Or just beer in my case.
Or just beer, yeah, indeed.
Yeah,
because it was reassuring to find that it was still there, and that the pork pies were still there and substantial, and presumably cheap as chips.
And still £3.50 a pint, where in London a beer is £6.50.
Indeed, it was like proper stuff, wasn't it? Yeah. Okay. So then later that evening, I think we had the curry, didn't we, at the traditional curry house, and get the beer in from next door.
Yep.
Did you go for that special Brussels sprout curry then?
I was really tempted.
Chemical warfare for next day.
The Brussels sprout curry was just thinking, it was there on the menu. Brussels sprouts and onions, I think, but it was just thinking. Unfortunately, the tables in Burton are spread a bit further apart than in other competitions, so it wouldn't be quite as lethal. So I think I skipped it. But yeah, that's one that we should take a team decision to go for next time, and just all take the same army and then just be turbo powered in the following morning and bring that one in. And I think we ended up in a pub even later that evening where we bumped into the Boy Hanley again, but I think they might have skipped the eating part of the evening. So they were what was that? It was called Brews of the World, I think.
Yeah, that's actually good. That is.
It was, although there was a kind of a weird thing, and me and Adam were talking about this, and when we drove home in the car on Sunday about it, it's a proper brew pub. There was the chalkboard up with 20 different beers, and they're all like 6% and upwards, and they've all got daft names and normal benches, and you could see the air conditioning units. It was textbook hipster brew pub. But there was something kind of really weird that we couldn't quite put a finger on until the next day. We realised it was a hipster brew pub, but there weren't any hipsters there. It was just people who used to work in the brewery in Burton and like beer and went there to drink beer. So we realised that all the hipster real ale pubs that we go to in London and the South East, you go to it, and part of the scenery is people who are younger and much more fashionable than you are, who with like lots of exuberant facial hair, who can possibly get away with wearing dungarees and sticky up hair. And that's sort of part of the experience of a brew pub. But in Burton, it was like a brew pub without the wanky hipsters in it. And it sort of felt slightly weird. That was the missing element to it. But other than that, no, there was some very interesting beer that was even served in thirds and 2/3 and or a pint. Probably some of it because it was all pretty 6, 8, 9% ish. But which I think some of the people we bumped into had been doing that. But yet, following morning, we had well, I don't know, Andy and Simon. How did your Sunday morning game go?
It was over very quickly.
Yeah, so we're
Not in a good way.
Not in a good way.
No. So there's 3 of the Central London teams were on first, second, and third. So we were fighting a father and son combination, and they had this horror Ross army. So it was one of those armies of almost wall to wall. It was 37 elements of almost all supported spear and elite Viking allies. So basically, all carry berserker 200 choppers and all that stuff. And no matter where, and we were a mixture of cataphracts and heavy foot army. No matter where we looked, it was a wall of pain. And learned a lot more respect for spear, because I think in Division 3, heavy spearmen were that troop type that were just meh. But when you've got 25 of them running around the table, they do command a lot of presence. And they slowly started tapping into us, pushing us around a little bit. We tried to get around the corners and all that, but we finally got to the point of we had to go in because the berserkers, I had impetuous medium sword on my flank, opposite the berserkers, I could see where they were going to come. We lined up, I had the overlaps, he contacted, he popped through in the first turn, and my entire flank disintegrated in a red mist, and we went, well, that was 4-6 ones, wasn't it?
Ooh. So this was
yeah.
Not only quantity has a quality all of its own, but they actually had quality as well.
Yeah.
So you didn't manage to do the Inaki special of going into heavy spears with cavalry and then rolling over the heavy spears?
No, and we tried with the cataphracts as well, but because with the supported option now, even if you beat them, they go, you don't have Furious Charge anymore. So you start off at 3-0, and then if you win, they don't care about Furious Charge, and it's a bit rude. So
actually, I thought that was one of the takeaways for me, or us from it, was that rear support rule, which I'd not really seen or experienced that much. There felt like there was a lot of it at this weekend, and it felt like it really did work well. It wasn't, because it is still only first round, but it really did stop things getting squished. And it made me think that certainly with medium foot spearmen, it might be even an even better thing, just because taking Furious Charge away just gives your infantry a lot more resilience, even if they're a bit rubbish.
Yeah, and you're +1 if you lose, so it's less chance of losing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played against the at the Bournemouth competition in Warfare. I think it was Bournemouth. So that was the Roman period, and so obviously you're running against Auxilia, lots of Roman Auxilia, and a lot of them were people had put the support with them rather than legionaries. So you've got an elite armored legionary with rear support. You charge that thing, and quite often it stood there and went, and I don't really particularly care. So it really shifted them up into being quite a tough troop type, which was quite disappointing because I was trying to roll over them. So, so that ended our third game.
This means war.
I don't know, Dave, do you want to talk us through our third game?
What happened in the third game, Tim?
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to work it out, really.
Well,
I think
I died very slowly on the left wing.
Yeah. My troops were kind of all over you like a rash, but unfortunately they didn't quite break through. And I think we probably, talking about it in the car, I think we overthunk it, and we had a De Lamai medium foot command, and we had a command of kind of crappy spearmen, and for some reason we thought you might put cataphracts and cavalry on the flank, so we put our spearmen on the flank and our De Lamai more in the center, over in Adam, and you just deployed textbook traditionally with cataphracts in the middle and some sort of infantry on the flank. And if we deployed normally, put De Lamai on the edge, I think that would have been quite a different outcome. But because the De Lamai could have just run over your flank command, and your spearmen, and the spearmen would have probably lost slowly to the cataphracts. But it did feel like a game in which the cataphracts elite and heavy armor just allowed them to grind down our okay first round, but the longer it went on, the more chance it seemed that your guys would just actually gain the upper hand. It was like a big arm wrestling match, and that's kind of how it worked. And then at some point it just all fell apart really pretty quickly.
I think the thing with that is that I have to keep up the morale of my doubles partner Richard when the cataphracts charge into the supported spearmen and lose the initial combat.
Yeah.
And there's a sort of like, oh no, we've lost, it's all over moment. But then what I find is the cataphracts having the heavy armor and being elite allows them to come back in the second and third rounds of the melee.
Yeah. Yep.
And then eventually they grind down the heavy foot.
Yeah.
And to be honest, that's what happened in our final game particularly.
Yeah, it's a really interesting mix, isn't it? It's a really interesting matchup about how it swings out and works out kind of on balance.
Well, I think Richard had very cunningly built an army with, we had 9 elite cataphracts going through the centre, as you say, but then we still had 4 heavy cavalry impact out on the flanks to stop medium foot. And I mean, in the final game, we played the Rus, which Simon and Andy lost to. And again, that was another case of, the only thing after bad matchups with the elephants, which we won. The other bad matchup we didn't want was supported spear, and we faced a massive supported spear.
You did, yeah, definitely, yeah.
It was a horrible army.
It's kind of Ukrainian Rus, really.
Yeah, in fact, everybody was rooting for it for that reason. Yeah.
I was thinking we should be losing here, but we didn't. But that was a case again. 3 elite cataphracts going into supported spear, losing the first round, and then coming back by rallying back up, using their armor, using their elites to rally back and things. And the medium foot command, which was on the Viking ally of medium foot, Impetuous, came through rough on one flank, and I just sat outside the rough with bowmen and heavy cavalry impact, so he couldn't.
So are we entering a new phase of ADLG where it's the new defensive meta and rallying up ahead of the other guy?
I think defending is very, very much
viable, isn't it? It's viable.
We chose to defend.
Yeah, because the last one, before the latest version came out, it was very much more aggressive armies and punching through. But you're saying with the supporter than that, it changes the meta slightly, balances it out probably. But it's more about how can you manage to rally your guys up.
I think choosing the terrain and defending has definitely become much more of an option. I think there's a situation where you say, actually, with the you're painting samurai army, and Simon, we had a lot of talk about samurai. Samurai was a non-functioning army in version 3. It was too expensive. Bases. Now, because it's been given, partially because it's been given 4 light foot, who are cheap to pad it out, and they've changed a few of the army type and military types. That you would almost certainly choose to defend in plains, take the extra terrain, have a strategist so you can move the terrain to where you want it to be. So, version 3, it was almost, we want big initiative so we get to win the initiative, attack into plains, get the jump on the enemy, know where his army is, smack into it. Now there's much more of a change that defending is really a good option.
Well, Dave, I would just say that at Bournemouth, I took an English 100 Years' War army with a strategist, and I chose to defend in forest. And 3 times out of 4, the terrain, I never had a good bit of terrain anywhere near where I wanted it.
Yeah, but Andy, the rules, however much the rules change, you're not going to become lucky. That's just not going to happen. That's not one of the things that Hervé was looking at in version 4, I don't think. But no, I think defending as an option, there's a much better balance between do you defend and do you attack. And I think the rear support rule is really good. I think I don't think it's too powerful. It's very effective because it slows down crappy troops losing, quite a lot, but it doesn't really help you win. So I think
the interesting one when we're in Spain is them making sure that there was enough rounds played in a game. So it less mattered if someone turned up with a really naff army with lots of troops, Tim. You were still able to actually take them on and have a decent battle.
No, I think so. But I think also though,
million-man army
in Spain, and even in Bournemouth to an extent, there was a lot of people are still playing for the first or second time. Nobody's quite back up to speed, and I think Burton, there were 3.5 hour games, and pretty much everyone finished because it was on the same schedule as the DBMM and the Fog and all the rest of it. So that gave like forever for the games to finish, and the extra points didn't really make much difference. But I think all our games were done in about 2.25 hours from set up to finish, and plenty of pub time, which was grand. But it did, all some really interesting armies. And I think, again, not talk about it yet, the last game we did fight Dave Allen and his, whatever it was, 9 elite elephants, which was, again, it was kind of nearly there. The terrain allowed him to play on quite a narrow field. I nearly outflanked it and used a cavalry command to try and run over some of the squishier foot. But I think certainly with that one, the Tamil Indian, the infantry are impact swordsmen, which means they're just much more resilient to being charged by cavalry than some of these other armies that have got mixed sword bow or too many other crappy troops, because impact swordsmen are just much better at resisting a cavalry charge. So I tried to mug the bit of his army that didn't have elephants all over it, and that was the play, and I got bounced by it. They beat me off. So, and then the elephants just eventually got in, and finally through elite and generals and all the rest of it started causing some pretty big carnage, and then the army just fell apart. But no, I thought it was a really interesting, good fun competition, and actually, we all still managed to get away while it was still daylight, and it didn't rain either, which is
the weather was lovely.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Who
bitterly
won
freezing
in the end then?
We did.
Yeah, Boy Saunders, he did indeed.
They won convincingly with four wins, so we conceded to them that they could have the trophy this year.
Yeah, they're allowed it.
Nice.
If they win all 4 games,
done.
that's reasonable, isn't it? That's pretty good. So,
Yeah, but I think it should be said that they only won the whole thing because we put a spanner in the works of Julian and Chris, who otherwise might have won the whole thing.
Hey, Andy, you could say that. I think Kevin and Steve came second. I think
Came second.
Really, and we beat them. So there you go. We put a spanner in the point of somebody else. So as a team effort, Dave, you owe us all a pint, really, for helping beat down the second, third, fourth place people or whatever, and particularly a pint to me and Adam for contributing so healthily to your victory with so many points by rolling over.
This means war.
So look, we've had a request. We've had a request from a listener who asked us. Bizarrely, they wanted the podcast to come back. They were missing it, a bit weird, and they also made a suggestion that we should have a discussion about why DBA is the greatest rule set ever written. Which, in the spirit of "I'm sorry, I think you're an arse," even though it's not quite "I'm sorry, I think you're an arse," is obviously nonsense. To me, it was the ultimate moneymaker for War Games Research Group after they run out of fingers to count beyond 7 for 7th edition. They had to come up with something else, and it became DBA, and ever since then they've been milking the DBX horse, really, and ultimately they've just bled us white, the bastards. They've taken everything we've had. All our money has gone to the keep in devices and the edifice that is WRG, and they've not just taken our money, they've taken our father's money and our father's money and our father's father's money
And our father's father's fathers.
and our father's father's too, and our father's 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 money. So Andy,
And our
look,
father's 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 fathers.
Andy, look, don't labour the point, really, but the question is, though, really, what has DBA ever brought to the world of wargaming? You know, really, what's it ever brought?
Army lists.
What?
Army lists.
Army lists.
Yeah, properly researched lists for many hundreds of previously obscure armies.
Actually, no, I suppose you're right. Yeah, and they've got the enemies as well, haven't they, in the DBA book, I suppose. But okay, right. So look, army lists, because you know, the 6th and 5th, 7th edition ones were a bit rubbish, and there was only 3 books. But yeah, loads of army lists. Okay, for 300, 400 armies, that's now standard. But what else? What else have they given us? Really, DBA.
The 40 mil wide element.
Sorry, sorry, Simon.
Oh yeah, the 40 mil wide element, Tim. Remember what a hassle was with different basing and all sorts of rule sets?
Well, you know, okay, yeah, we used to differently base things for different rule sets, but that was part of the fun of sort of wargaming. But yeah, you know, actually, to be fair though, nobody really likes rebasing. So yeah, the 40 mil wide element, you know, and army lists, maybe DBA can take some credit for that, really. But you know, what else? What else has it done?
Trick types based on relative effectiveness, not weaponry.
Well, okay, Dave, in your weird voice in Harrow, I don't. You know, so the idea, that basic idea of moving away from it's got a sword and a shield and darts and each one's a +1, you know, and Cantabrian bloody circle and all that sort of nonsense. Just simply classifying troops based on relative effectiveness against each other, not doing it ground up from this enormous long drop-down list of weaponry, you know. Okay, yeah, that goes without saying. You know, how ridiculous would it be for someone to write a set of rules today where there's a whole long drop-down list of different weapons that you stack up with different characteristics, and rather than just going, let's take it broad brush, abstract it, just relative effectiveness against sort of historical opponents. Why would anybody do that these days? But
so you can get around no more tedious morale tests.
Morale tests. What the bleeding hell is morale tests? I started playing DBMM, so I've no idea what a morale test even is.
Yeah, morale, cohesion tests, waiver tests. What a rubbish mechanic that was in retrospect, eh? Why not just cut the crap out and just have units alive or, well, broken, folding it all into the combat dice roll?
Rules that don't need a 200-page book and a 4-page QR sheet to play them.
Look, hang about, calm down, lads. You know, okay, so taking morale tests and waiver tests out of it and just having stuff alive or dead, well, you know, I suppose there's an argument that DBA cut out loads of nonsense, but you know, in fact, nobody really enjoyed those morale tests. I think the Shock of Impact was probably the nadir of that, although 6th edition was pretty grim. And then, God, waiver tests in 7th was just, they were terrible 1 dice things. They tried to simplify it, but they just weren't really necessary. So, you know, all those tests and complex move tests and cohesion tests, which sadly came back in fog for a while, that was it. And just do it on a D6. It's part of the combat. Fold all those processes into one. Don't roll separate dice for it. That's it, I guess. And I suppose, well, no, but you know, I'm sure there's wargamers who like 200-page hardback rule sets. You know, particularly anybody who's putting them under terrain cloth to use as terrain for a big Napoleonic battle they're never actually going to move the troops with. That may be a possibility. And all those pages of pictures that no one ever reads, because surely the rules can't take 200 bloody pages and a massive QR sheet in really small print with that you may actually be right.
I don't know
those
any
were
of these
pretty
people.
grim.
And if I did, they can all go get a life.
Well, okay, maybe no.
You've
maybe
also got the end of single casualty removal.
Was that ever a thing? Really?
Yeah, Dave. Yeah, before your time, mate, we had single figures. In fact, Dave Allen, who we talked about with his elephant army, there were single figures in which, I think in one set of WIG rules, the direction in which your officer was pointing was the direction in which you could evade with that unit. So Dave, I believe, this may be an apocryphal story, but he has told us it, so it's probably true, mounted the single figure on a penny so that he could turn it in whatever direction would be optimal to evade in. And then people used to do Cantabrian circle and African skirmishing formation and move all the figures round. So you'd have big circles of 28 mil light cavalry floating around on the table. So, and you'd take them off one at a bloody time. So yes, single figure casualty removal was just, all the figures would fall over in the box. That was before Magna Base was invented. So yeah, putting everything on bases, I guess, is another real upside. So I guess fair enough. But apart from that, what else has DBA given to us?
I think one of the biggest things it gave us was this, the same sort of rules played everywhere in the world, even down under.
Chunder down under.
Yeah, I suppose the Chunder down under, but that whole
going abroad is fun, mate.
Yeah, I'm not sure they're going to let you into Australia with that accent, though, Dave. Really, yeah.
Yeah, I could just see you at border control.
Yeah, so, that could be it. Yeah, Dave looking scared when the rubber glove comes out is probably something that maybe DBA does owe us, really.
That's the sniffer dog at Melbourne Airport called.
Yeah, we're not talking about your social life here now, Dave.
And now it's perfectly reasonable to have a set of rules that contain command and control mechanics that mean your troops don't do exactly what you want all the time now.
Well, we also have a lot of fun with pit dice. They certainly killed off the war gamer as a sort of god syndrome. Let's face it, the pit dice are the only mechanism that could kill off a cliche like that.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. A kind of a resource allocation based command and control system that is designed to punish you for doing complicated things, rather than something where you can sort of save up power ups, or when you can just do what you bloody like. That's pretty good, I guess. And the fact that the rules are played all over the world, we all enjoy a lot of that. I am glad about the lack of morale tests, not really needing a QR sheet or 200 pages of rules. Getting rid of single figure casualty removal, that's also good. But apart from that, and apart from all the other bits and pieces, what has DBA ever done for any of us?
Given us an excuse to buy more figures to paint?
Well, you would bloody say that, wouldn't you? Right, look, with that receding into the distance, we're into the final straight now. So the bit in the final straight is, as always, the Finkel quiz.
Comment les entendre? Question. Comment les voir? Question. Le trou est sans fond? Question. La légende le dit? Question. Elle dit aussi? Question. C'est une maladie? Question.
Incroyable French techno there. And Andy, I'm not sure, you probably remember, you may be the only one who remembers how the quiz works. I think the rest of us have tried to put it out of our minds, quite possibly. But hit us with your quiz stick, Monsieur Finkel.
There were 3 questions, and then there will obviously be an answer to each one. And so all you have to really decide on is, are we going to give the answers before the end of this quiz, or are we going to keep our listener in suspense until the next quiz, until the next podcast?
Suspenders for a month.
Yeah.
We never did the answers to the last quiz.
I think we did. I can't remember what it was.
The pirates.
What? Can we come up with answers to questions that we don't remember?
That was several bits because we ran out of time.
Okay. Was there something about pirates then we've got to talk about? Was it Brexit related?
Well, I actually have the answer to the pirates questions if you want me to do that.
Well, I think, Andy, that's answers to questions that we can't remember. Maybe you should do the answers and we'll try and guess the questions.
Yeah.
That could be
for that.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
All right. So the answer to the first question in the pirates quiz was Julius Caesar. Can you remember what the question was?
Yeah, I know the answer to that.
Kidnapped by pirates.
I've just given you the answer, you muppet. You've got to tell me what the question is.
Pirates.
Yeah, that's right.
And released, went back, got a fleet, and wiped him out.
Yeah, that's right. So it's which of the first Roman was kidnapped by pirates, right?
Yeah,
and the answer to the second one,
Stockholm syndrome.
Right. The answer to the second one was
Dave. It can't have been Stockholm syndrome. Stockholm wasn't invented.
Yeah, exactly. It's a reverse Stockholm syndrome.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, might be Syracuse syndrome. Right. The second question, the answer was Royal Navy officer, and I'll be amazed if you remember
Navy officer. Right. What do the Americans? For which navy is the rank of rear admiral referred to as butt pirate by the American Marines? There you go.
Not quite. No, it was. This was actually a question about a guy called Henry Avery of Newton Ferrers, which is near Brixham, captured the wealthiest ever ship taken during the golden age of piracy. It was worth £91 million in current value, and he was never captured. His treasure was never recovered. And what was his profession before he mugged this ship? And he was a Royal Naval officer.
It wasn't a Russian oligarch's yacht, was it, or by any chance? Captured by the tax authorities?
No, I don't think it fitted because the cannon would have messed up the.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah, been tricky. Right.
To be honest, I can't be asked to give the third answer.
Is the third answer too tedious? We're not even going to tell anybody.
Well, the third answer is blistering barnacles.
Blistering barnacles.
Captain Pugwash.
It's from Captain Pugwash, but not one of his aphorisms.
Demon Stains.
I think that was Cutthroat Jake, his enemy.
Was it? Yeah, it was from Captain Pugwash anyway.
Have you painted Cutthroat Jake in 28mm from Tag?
No, I haven't.
Not yet. Right, okay. So let's play some more music.
Comment les entendre? Question. Comment les voir? Question. Le trou est sans fond? Question. La légende le dit? Question. Elle dit aussi? Question. C'est une maladie? Question.
So Andy, hit us with this week's questions then.
Right. Well, this week the theme is beer. Since
Beer.
Just come back
It's a
from
Burton theme. Good.
Right. For question 1, in addition to Germany, which World War II nation's army had a general called Hofmeister? Was it A, France, B, Canada, or C, South Africa?
Was South Africa even in World War II?
Yeah.
Wow, okay. Oh, yeah, you painted the stuff, don't you? All right, fine.
It was part of the Commonwealth.
Oh, I guess it was. Yeah, they were all sort of chipped in, didn't they?
Golden Alex. What's his name? Finch. He's supposed to be a South African, isn't he?
Sefer.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So question 2, in which 1917 battle did the Australian Imperial Light Horse make a cavalry charge armed only with bayonets?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And number 3, in which year was the Battle of Bir Hakeim, where an outnumbered French brigade held off a German offensive for over 2 weeks? A, 1870, B, 1914, or C, 1942?
Beer-based pun of the week, if that's easy to say, which it clearly isn't. Good. All right. Well, look, we will maybe return later, or we may return next time we do this, which will be in a few weeks, with those answers.
Question. Comment les voir? Question. Le trou est sans fond? Question. La légende le dit? Question. Elle dit aussi? Question. C'est une maladie? Question.
Right, well, we're coming into definitely the final stretch then, which is the look ahead to what's coming up in probably the next few weeks. Let's start with you, Tamsin. How long have you got with this painting challenge? Another fortnight, did you say?
2.5 weeks.
2.5 weeks.
Finishes midnight on Sunday the 20th.
And what's your target? Are you aiming for top 10 or just get a load of stuff done that you want doing?
I was aiming to get a load of stuff done. I'm not too worried about position this time.
Right. Oh, okay. And we've already seen there's a lot of MDF spray brush terrain behind you. Are there any figures in that pile?
There's some figures. Well, I've got some figures ready for painting, figures and vehicles, and they're going to get done over the next couple of days before I work on the terrain. See how I get on. If I get through the terrain in time, I might add some more figures to the queue.
15s, 28s?
28s.
28s, Second World War, some sci-fi?
No, it's going to be, if I do get the time, it's going to be sort of civilian crowd figures for Mega City 1.
Okay, all right. So we'll see some...
Using some writer figures from Offensive Miniatures and also some model railway people.
Model railway people. Well, yeah, I think I've been to a model railway show. I know what they look like.
The basic white plastic figures.
Oh, right. I thought like model railway people.
It's very basic sculpting, but it's just it's crowds.
Bodies. I thought by model railway people, you meant like people who look a bit like wargamers, but... Oh, where's that coming in? They look like wargamers, but slightly less socially skilled. All right, okay. Mr. Saunders, you've got a trip to abroad coming up, haven't you, in the next few weeks?
Not this weekend, but next weekend to Pamplona to play AGLG.
Yep. Have you chosen your army yet?
I struggled. I tried to make the Nobartai win. Andy beat them up. I don't know how to use.
That's how bad they are.
Thank you, Julian Lopez, because it's a rubbish army, even though you claim it's brilliant.
Yep.
So I've fallen back on my classically favourite early Carthaginian army. And then I sent the list in, and Iñaki reminded me that it was a 2-list competition. So I actually replied back and said, no, thank you. I'll just go with 1 list. No, I didn't. Because I was getting even more confused by that. And then he started telling me about how I could take a Libyan ally. And that was a really good idea until I pointed out to him that was a really bad idea because he hadn't read the rules and didn't know.
That's the rules he set. Okay.
He was going, oh, you can have all these impetuous foots. And I went, no, you can't. Not in that way.
Right.
So he's obviously been looking at other people's lists, and I've just pointed out that they're all illegal to him.
Oh, right. So are there any travel restrictions for Spain at the moment? Or can you just sail in and sail out?
Well, I think cross my fingers, and I hope this is true, because I really need to check this. We still need the Spanish app to get into Spain.
Yeah.
But that ain't too...
That's just to say you've been vaccinated then. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just waving our QR code. But we don't need all that rubbish of doing a test when we get back.
Okay.
That's the really good news, because then we don't have the Spanish trying to check the British travel restrictions in Spain to come back, which of course, the British, we just export all our
nonsense
paperwork to the Johnny foreigners because we think we're so superior.
And then it must be getting time to submit your roll call list quite soon as well, I guess.
That's a deep worry. I'm obviously doing too many competitions and I'm not keeping up to date with my paperwork.
Right.
Roll call, is that got to be in before next weekend?
No, not next weekend.
March 19th.
I prefer it by the following week if that's all right. I've had 4 lists in already.
I might even be ready to submit a list, to be quite honest, but
I'll make up a list for you.
We could all do one. We could do a crowdsourcing.
I could no Bartai to roll call.
Okay, well, you heard it here first, boys and girls. It's like, all right. So, Andy, as well as checking 4 lists for roll call, what and possibly more, what have you got coming up?
Finishing off the motor torpedo boats for Cruel Seas, the Indians, the hoplites, the bits and bobs, really. I mean, I've got no big project on the go at the moment. I'm kind of running out of storage space, which is one reason why I didn't buy a samurai army.
What?
Right.
Also, I played against one at Beachhead, and yes, it was beautifully painted, but it's still it's not a nice, visually colourful army.
Not sprayed
That's
gold.
why they didn't use enough gold.
Yeah,
possibly not.
You not see my one, which is all reds and yellows and blues.
Oh well, yeah. Well, to be fair, your 50mm one with the fancy flags and the blue sashimonos and stuff. That's quite smart.
Okay.
I like pretty colours.
Right.
There's
So,
also
Simon,
going to be a Kickstarter with 28mm plastic samurai.
Yeah, some of the Fireforge stuff.
Yeah, I'm staying away from that because that could be bad for my credit card.
Simon, you know you want it.
That way leads madness, yes.
Yeah. So, Simon, other than avoiding the Kickstarter for 28mm Samurai from Fireforge, what are you doing over the next few weeks?
Well, speaking of credit card accidents, I happen to be visiting a website, which is always bad for a wargamer. And Forged in Battle had over the January sales, they had a 15% sale off, I think it was, or 25% sale off. So I may have bought a lot of Arabs to do all the Arab options in 15
good. Correct answer.
So, because you know what it's like, you could just do 22 or 24 bases, that gives you enough to get an army, but then you need the golems in either elite or non-elite formations, mixed units, different other units.
And they go from sword to spear in the year 638 or something.
Yeah.
But then you need the contrast paints to paint them, unless you do the new Warlord ones.
Well,
sorry, not Warlord. Army
Yeah,
Painter.
Warlord.
Eye painter. Yeah.
I got a set of them.
I received today the starter set.
Oh, right. Actually, let's put a break on this then. We've got some real discussion. Everybody in the world is talking about this. How many things have you painted with them? And Andy, you've got them as well.
Yeah.
The Army Painter contrast.
I haven't painted anything with them yet.
Right, you can be quiet then. Andy, tell us through this. What's going on? We're all watching.
This is one of my I don't know if you can see it.
How does it go on? What's it like? How's it compared to contrast
It's very
paints?
kind of ink-like, and it does sort of dribble into the folds quite nicely, and you get it does show up the contours of the figure, and they do dry very quickly. So I'm just think the range of paints, the colours is a bit limited at the moment, but I did the using actually two different colours. I did these Indian swordsmen, and so the skin color in the came out quite well, and the nice definition of their, the difference between the skin and the
dhoti,
shoulder strap and the headgear and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Oh, actually, that's an interesting. Are they basically World War II colours at the moment? Then, if it's come out from
they're kind of fantasy descriptions.
You've got an orangey yellow, a bright. A darker orange, red, blue, purple, a green,
brown leather,
bright green. It's all flesh. Then you got a flesh colour. Sort of a pallid. Well, I think it's called pallid.
Yeah, they call them pallid bone, Brave Lord Grey.
It's a pale brown more than.
Yeah,
white.
the kind of basic fantasy
you got
colours.
a darker brown, and you've got a very dark grey.
So Tamsin, are you fascinated by these, or what? Was it completist that you've got them for, or interested to see how they work?
I thought I'd try them out.
Yeah,
I reasonable bit try them out on things that I'm not either just sort of background pieces first. So. I model railway people.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The flesh one is far too dark.
Okay.
Yeah.
For Europeans, yeah.
Yeah, and one bit I seeing some reviews on YouTube. It does appear to be an issue that they can be reactivated if you try to paint over them or apply washes. So Army Painter is saying, recommending. Let it dry and then give it a coat of varnish before you do anything on top.
But I'm not sure if that's the case with GW contrast paints.
No, it's not. The GW ones are fine.
They stop. Okay.
I've used that. So when I did my Arab Army with all the gubbins, it was great using the contrast, and then you could, when inevitably I'd made a couple of mistakes, it's quite easy to paint over certain bits.
Okay. So it's a feature, not a flaw, or the other way around then. Okay. Well, that will be something good to come back to in a couple of weeks' time, or 2 or 3 weeks' time, and see how they've gone on. Has anybody else picked any up?
No, I bought the Games Workshop contrast paints after your recommendations. I've started using those already. They're quite nice.
Yep. No, they look cool. Good. Okay. All right. Well, who's going?
There's one bit I will say. I think did do sort of test patches on a card, and found that sort of the consistency out of a bottle was they were consistent across it was each bot it was consistent fluidity and everything. Yeah. Which I gather isn't always the case with the contrast paints.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a consistency question then. All right. Well, it will be fascinating to see in a few weeks' time how these have done. I might be tempted to try and pick some up. I think I don't know if they're selling them in individual bottles yet, or whether it's just in
not yet.
Not yet.
I think individual bottles due to come out a bit later on, around about possibly about the same time as the mega set.
Oh, right, mega set. Of course, it's a mega set. Okay.
It's about 35 quid for 10, which sounds not too bad, really.
Yeah, I got. Yeah. Depends where you buy them. I got mine from SNM stuff.
Yeah.
And it was about 30. It was less. I think it was about 31.
Okay.
Yeah, I got mine from Great Escape Games.
Right. Okay. So there's plenty of them out there in the market. Cool. Okay. All right. Well, let's keep going around. Peter, do you think you're gonna get samurai spraying at some point? Is that foreseeable?
With the weather being a bit nicer.
Yeah. You could be on for
and work calming down a bit. Hopefully, yes. I've also got to actually pull my finger out and work out what the hell I want to take to roll call, work out a list for it, because I haven't really done anything since when we were playing in Benidorm. Sorry, not Benidorm, Alicante.
Yep.
So I've got to actually remember what I've got and what ideas I have. So I might even try and get down to the club. Now I've got, things have calmed down a bit at work. And
Okay.
Yeah, have a go at the Samurai. I just really fancy building those up. And then starting to build up some ideas for when we go to Rome in June for Worlds, because that's a proper two-lister with a very different variation. I'm sure we'll talk about that in another podcast. But I'm just thinking ahead to that with roll call and with what I'm painting, and do I want to do something different?
What I'm looking at, I think now that I've done a ship without the rigging, there's clearly more ships to be done because they're quite easy. Finish off this biblical army, which will only take a matter of minutes. I will bite the bullet and do these Napoleonic 10mm horse, which is grand. And then I think once I've got the box of black sails out the way, that'll feel like quite a big thing, because it's been lurking around for a long time. Then I've got 3 different armies to decide about starting. 2 in 15mm and one in 25mm to decide if I do that. But yeah, I'm not doing Pamplona in March, so I've got a break until roll call. I've already submitted my army. It's a lockdown painting army. It's the Assyrians, which the 25mm period goes from biblical and classical. So it's like, look, that's the one I've got. I don't want to use another bloody late Roman army and try and shoehorn it into that. Let's just bang in and use the Assyrians. So they're actually even boxed up and ready to go. Amazing preparation with a month ahead. And then I've got to kind of finish off getting some of the rest of the BritCon stuff all sorted. And then I think actually get down the club and play some games, because I've missed a few, really. I've missed a few weeks. I've got a game of O Group next Monday, probably get some more ADLG in, maybe even practice with the Assyrians, although the list is in. In fact, that's one of the things we didn't practice with the Khurasanian army that me and Adam took to Burton, and we found out when we put it down on table that there's one elephant in that, and in that command with the elephant there were no light infantry. So the elephant was walking around completely, with its elephant.
The target painted on it,
Target painted on it. You need to screen your elephants with light infantry, but with me fiddling around with the list for so long, I've kind of moved the light infantry around and taken them out of that command. So,
Tim, can I just say that Assyrians is not one of the options for roll call?
It is for 25mm.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, which is a different one, which is why you haven't seen the list either. So that's all fine. That's been submitted to Gordon. So that's all good. It'd be nice to get those on table and play a few more different bits and pieces. And when the weather improves, do some. I've got a lot of shiny stuff that hasn't been matte varnished over the last 2 months because it's just been too damp or too cold to do that. So I'm going to have to trawl through a load of little drawers and boxes and things and find all the shiny stuff and just have a big matte varnishing session as well in prep for that. So with that spraytastic news, I think we draw to the close of this slightly short-handed, but next one in a few weeks, I guess, because it seems good that we should do this every 3 or 4 weeks and just gradually build up and force ourselves to
roll up to roll call.
Yeah, pre-roll call. We can get Micah Richards back and do a bit of World of War sports predictions for roll call if we do this at the back end of March, probably.
And the full-on review from the Army Painter Flow Paints.
Full-on Flow Paints review.
How many Arabs can Simon shake a stick at?
Yep, and let's see what the model railway people look like as well. The model railway people zombies. So the Chattanooga Choo Choo will be coming around in 2 or 3 weeks as the model railway people make a tabletop reappearance. So good night from me and good night from everybody else. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye. Bye. Right, we might have got away with that. Might not be too shit. Okay, reasonable.
I'm quite bizarre about that one.
Sorry?
I mean, I remember the guy asking if the whole thing was scripted in the first place.
Now we've done it, I know.
Is anyone going to buy it? Is anyone going to
Disturbing.
buy the script?
It sounds distinctly disturbing.
Yes, it will do, won't it? Yeah.
I think we're playing with reality far too
This
much.
means war. This means war.
So there's this one, which note the number of spokes on that side and note the slightly different arrangement of the wheels on that side. But as long as you don't know, you're never going to look at it from two sides at once.
It's just more damage, and it's been recovering from it.
Repaired in the field like a Ukrainian tank or
Yeah,
something.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody towed off with a tractor.
This means war.